Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Comfort Modu.
Our strategic repositioning requires us to build on our sources and project a forward-looking agenda that resonates with the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians.
As APC National Caucus meets, President Tinubu reaffirms commitment to repositioning Nigeria, projects country's forward-looking agenda. The federal government says locating Africa Energy Bank in Nigeria is a historic milestone, consolidates Nigeria and Africa towards connecting investors worldwide.
To have economic policy that encourage local development.
Senate receives more inputs, recommendations from public on tax reform bills.
Prioritize immunizing children against polio.
International Polio Plus Committee immunizes children, leads a team on advocacy and enlightenment on foundation's activities. We begin with President Bola Tinubu's commitment to strategically repositioning Nigeria and building on current successes and projecting a forward-looking agenda for the country. The president made the commitment, but at the National Caucus meeting of the Governing All Progressives Congress, APC, in Abuja. State House correspondent Musba Wahab reports that President Tinubu won the caucus's vote of confidence for his handling of state affairs.
President Bola Tinubu attended his first National Caucus meeting of his party, and that popular rendition played out again. The APC was preparing for its first National Executive Committee NEC meeting since August 2023. In this seeming preliminary house cleaning, the national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, reported on the activities of the party under his watch so far, and the progress listed included successes in off-cycle elections in some states. However, former governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, called the attention of participants to matters of national importance, including the improvements recorded on the economy and fight against insecurity in parts of the country.
People evacuated because of insecurity, more especially. Let me cite Dansado, but today, God is infinite mercy. On that watch of our president, everyone can drive and apply that to pray.
Because the president has been able to drive most of the articles in our manifesto to fruition, we should be able to give him a vote of implicit confidence. We shall stand on your mandate, on your mandate.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for the vote of confidence.
President Tinubu appreciated this and other show of support by his party members, commending them for their loyalty to the party and for believing in his administration despite the initial hard decisions taken.
Our strategic repositioning requires us to build on our sources and project a forward-looking agenda that resonates with the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians. I am here promising that we are doing that. I have a commitment to our manifesto, progressive ideas, and belief.
The president pointed out that the nation is already turning the corner on the reforms to place Nigeria for greater heights.
The policies are difficult. There is no way Nigeria could have survived the continuation of oil subsidy. There's no way. Today I can beat my chest, and each of the governors here, that allocations to the states is tripled. We have enough funding for the local governments. We have NEL fund to fund our children in the school.
With this meeting and the agenda drawn out, the party is set for its next meeting this Wednesday at the party's National Secretariat. From the State House, Musbah Wahab, NC News.
The Governing All Progressives Congress, APC, has concluded plans to hold its National Executive Committee meeting this Wednesday, 26 February 2025, after 18 months. A rectangular canopy is already being erected at the party National Secretariat, while other finishing touches are also ongoing to accommodate prospective members, including the national leader of the party, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Following a caucus meeting on Tuesday at the banquet hall of the presidential villa, where resolutions for ratification were reached ahead of today's meeting at the Buhari House, headquarters of the party. The next meeting, which is in line with Article 11 of the party's constitution, would be happening 18 months after that of August 3, 2023, where its former national chairman and secretary, Abdullahi Adamu and Iyola Omisere, resigned their duties to the present Abdullahi Umar Ganduje-led NWC. Meanwhile, various groups on the platform of the Confederation of the AP Support Groups have described the local government financial autonomy by Tinubu's presidency as a deliberate intention to drive development at the grassroots. The group, through its Director General, Professor Kailani Mohammed, is urging all tiers of government to strengthen revenue-generating capacities and enhance growth, social inclusion, and even development. The group appealed for calmness in the Senate, urging the federal government to sustain efforts at Barrow, the Sea in Niger State, to diversify the economy and create investment opportunities.
Dependence on federal hangouts for sustainability by the state government in Nigeria cannot ensure development of the states at all. The single thing states need to do is to think outside the box and tap the abundant agricultural and natural mineral resources to complement what they get from the federal government. State governors need to work within the context of productivity for sustainable development of their domains.
Kailani Mohammed lauded the IBB memo, but urged for critical thinking for deep understanding of the autobiography of the elder statesman in bridging the deficit of history. Ambitious reforms in the energy industry embarked upon by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has positioned Nigeria as a global energy powerhouse that is open for business. President Bola Tinubu said locating Africa's energy bank in Nigeria is a historic milestone which has consolidated Nigeria and Africa towards realizing the theme Bridging Continents, connecting investors worldwide with Africa's energy potential. Details with Lydia Sampson.
Reeling out the present administration's achievements in the oil and gas industry, Minister of State Finance Dr. Doris Uzoka Anyete, who delivered President Tinubu's message to the summit, maintained that Nigeria's oil and gas industry is beaming with opportunities.
By denominating crude sales in Naira, we are supporting the local currency and creating a more resilient economy. This initiative is expected to result in more affordable petroleum products for our citizens, ultimately improving their standard of living and stimulating economic growth.
Her message resonates with key stakeholders from within and outside Nigeria.
Unlocking the full potential of this great continent is an utmost priority for OPEC. The investment needs of the oil industry are sizable, with cumulative investment requirements amounting to $17.4 trillion from now to 2050.
Let's see how we can attract the requisite investment and solve the issue of energy poverty in Nigeria.
Let us seize this opportunity to forge new partnerships, explore innovative financing mechanisms, and accelerate the development of Nigeria's gas sector.
Today, that every domestic gas-based industry or power plant in the country is getting all the gas that it needs because we are building the infrastructure, we are delivering on this infrastructure, and this country is working. And
indigenous players say optimism is high that the Nigerian oil and gas is at a good place as the world's largest producer of both oil and gas reserves. That Nigeria has made tremendous progress since the last International Energy Summit is not in contest. However, it is significant that deliberations from here must translate to prioritizing energy security for all Nigerians. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
As Africa strives for universal energy access, championing women's inclusion in the energy industry has been reviewed as crucial. Key players stress that by integrating gender considerations into energy policies, Africa can accelerate its journey towards sustainable and inclusive energy access. Let's join Lydia Sampson again for details of this report.
It is not a coincidence that at two different panel discussions, policy and women inclusion was highly considered influential in playing pivotal roles in achieving energy access and energy security.
The power sector is one that is driven by demand, is demand driven, and so the activities of the downstream electricity markets would determine our generation capacity in upstream.
Long adage of the women are not there, and I think we've quelled it. Women are there, they're available, they're competent, and they are necessary to drive the agenda of this country and this administration in the energy industry.
They agreed that deliberate policies prioritizing all energy solutions must be implemented across the various sectors to harness and improve energy production and efficiency.
With Africa's abundant gas reserves, it is imperative that we maximize these resources to power industries, electrify rural and urban communities, and catalyze socio-economic development.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR's administration prioritized energy security as a cornerstone of national development.
Key stakeholders who discuss strategies to bridge the energy gap, empower undeserved communities, and drive economic growth believe the best approach is to build sustainable energy infrastructure and reduce poverty. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
All right, thank you so much, Lydia Sampson, for the updates there on energy and other issues in the economy. Now, let's take a quick break. More reports ahead.
Our food, our health, our tomato paste. There is no tomato paste, the taste of Nigeria. There is no tomato paste, Kiari. Rijiko tomato pesto, Siwani. 100% natural tomato. Now, better food, not correct ingredients.
Latest report from the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that Nigeria's economy expands as gross domestic product grows by 3.84% in Q4 of 2024. We're joining Aliko Panachiaruwa to give us details of the GDP.
The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, reports that the growth is driven primarily by the service sector, which expanded by 5.37% despite global uncertainties. However, in 2024, Nigerian GDP growth stood at 3.40%, up from 2.74% in 2023, reflecting continued recovery and expansion in key sectors. Meanwhile, players in the cashew value chain are calling for more government intervention in curbing sharp practices within the system, citing illegal exportation and exploitation of farmers. They complained that foreign buyers are now bypassing local merchants and buying directly from farmers, thereby shortchanging Nigeria.
Why are we exporting raw nut that a kg is less than 2,000? A semi-processed kernel is over 16,000. Can you see the disparity? Raw cashew nut shell liquid, the back, the shell, if you process the oil, the crude, is over $250 US. Why are we doing this to ourselves? So the derivatives from cashew alone can create massive job and wealth and development for this country.
In another development, pay TV operator MultiChoice Nigeria has announced a 21% increase in the subscription fee for its DSTV compact package, raising the price from 15,700 to 19,000, effective from March 1st, 2025. The announcement has triggered widespread criticism from subscribers. Let's take a look at Tuesday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Panachiaruwa.
All right, let's lead more conversation on the growth that has been achieved or recorded in the country's GDP currently with Dr. Aliyu Elias, who is an economist, to speak to this issue. Thank you for making out time to join us on the News at 10.
Thank you for having me.
All right, what exactly do you think are the factors that majorly contributed to the 3.84% GDP growth in the country, especially in the services sector?
Right, I think it's a good news that we are having a growth in the GDP in Nigeria, even while we are waiting for a rebasing of the GDP. However, as it is, we have service sector taking the lead, though some of us think it's not supposed to be. But like a question actually clearly asked is that why, what are the things? Now, basically, when we say service sector, we simply means financial sector, insurance sector, and telecommunication and whatever that has to do with service. Those are the sectors that actually led. I think bureaucratic bottleneck was reduced. There was government support and there was a focus on that area. I think that's why we have much more, because if you look at our financial sector, there is more confidence now compared to before, and our stock is actually also doing well. So I think these are the factors that actually help us to grow to this level that we are now.
Okay, so we're seeing some sort of decline in the agri and industry sectors on the figures. So what policy changes do you think can be made to probably boost the performance of these sectors?
Ideally, as a Nigerian, or in Nigeria economy, we expect agriculture sector and industrial sector to actually take the lead, because if you look at it, virtually about 70% of Nigeria still halfway to the farm, though it's not mechanized farming. So I think we need to do. You also recall that during President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in July 2023, actually declare state of emergency on food security, and that has to do with agriculture. We're expecting by now that we should see the result, and that should take the lead. So we expect agriculture to take the lead, the industrial sector to take the lead, and also mining sector. You agree with me, we have invested more in mining, so we expect them to actually take the lead going forward.
All right, we see the services sector leading more than 57% in the GDP, but what's your take on the performance of sectors like telecommunications, trade, crude in the context of Nigeria's broader economic challenges?
I think if you look at the crude part of it, Nigerians actually do more. In fact, this president have done more in that sector. You agree with me that before we have less than 2,000 barrel, we have moved from where we used to be. You could see that there is also an action against oil bunker, and a lot of things that is happening in that sector. So it's a good one. Then for the telecoms, me and you agree we can't do without using telecommunication sector. In fact, most banks rely on telecom sector now. I think that's part of what formed their strengths. Ideally, they should even do better than we are seeing now.
Okay, so before I let you go,
right.
We want to see GDP grow and also fight inflation, if I may use that word. What can we do to scale up production in the area of agri, specifically to boost exports?
I think a major challenge in agri is what we call supply chain problem. The fact remains that you look at the movement of items from one place to the other is quite very difficult these days because of the feeder road, because of cost of transportation, which is energy. So if we can solve our security problem and also make sure that our supply chain is being fixed, I think we'll have a way ahead, because supply chain determines virtually everything you do in the agricultural sector.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aliyu Ilyas, for making out time for the news at 10 and great insights you shared on the news. And we look for better output on the GDP going forward.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the federal government has received 2,000 tractors from Belarus, fulfilling President Tinubu's directive to reform agricultural activities in the country. Musa Baba Ali reports that the heavy-duty equipment arrived in Nigeria and has been assembled in Abuja.
In September 2024, Nigeria and Belarus signed a significant agreement for the supply of 2,000 tractors, a key aspect of the Bola Tinubu administration's renewed hope agricultural transformation policy. The first batch of tractors has arrived and is currently being assembled in the Federal Capital Territory. The tractors were accompanied by 9,072 assorted agricultural implements. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari visited the assembly site in Kwali, where he underscored the importance of the initiative as a milestone achievement for the government. He expressed his satisfaction with the progress made in the Nigerian-Belarus mechanization partnership, which is focused on transforming agricultural practices in the country.
Consignment the 2,000 Belarus tractors for the wet season of this year. And we're expecting Mr. President to launch the tractors here in Abuja before being deployed immediately to the areas of operation. Promise was made by Mr. President and promise was kept.
So to maximize the impact of the project, the tractors will be distributed through 3 main schemes. Direct purchase. This option allows individuals and organizations to buy tractor directly, promoting ownership and investment in farming. The second one is leasing scheme, provide affordable access to mechanization without the need to full ownership costs, making it easier for farmers to utilize modern equipment. Service provider model. This approach establishes tractor service centers in farming communities, enabling local farmers to access tractor services efficiently. The agreement and the subsequent initiative reflect the Nigerian government's commitment to advancing agricultural technology and ensuring food security for all Nigerians. From Kwali, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Nigeria has pledged a commitment to health and survival of local enterprises, describing them as catalysts for a sustainable economic future. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the pledge during a tour of the Secured Smart Card and Digital Solutions facility in Lagos. That's to mark its 20th anniversary. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila was there.
Vice President Kashim Shettima at the country's leading smart card manufacturing company for its 2 decades of excellence in manufacturing and digital solutions, a continental leader in digital solutions, now capable of producing 200 million cards annually, including international passports.
I know how the president is very passionate about patronizing Nigerian companies, and he will get to hear it tomorrow. And be rest assured that our passports, our voters' cards, will be produced in this country.
Reaffirming the government's commitment to fostering an environment where businesses can flourish, Vice President Kashim Shettima assured that the administration is ready to help local industries fulfill their potential.
Secure ID is a testament to what is possible when vision is matched with dedication and hard work. Where there is a will, there is always the way. Against all odds, you thrived and you succeeded and conquered territories that hitherto belongs to others. It is my firm belief that the various ongoing interventions of this administration will pave the way for the emergence of more companies like Secure ID, companies that will transform our economy, create opportunities, and raise the living standards of millions of Nigerians.
And the promise of the administration is to support enterprises by fostering an environment where innovation thrives and where every citizen has the opportunity to succeed. From Lagos, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
And Joy Ken Abakboya reports that the Lagos State government is committing to fostering an environment that promotes innovation, supports responsible gaming and digital entrepreneurship. The State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, stated this at the 2025 Africa Gaming Expo in Lagos.
Delivering his keynote address at the opening of the Africa Gaming Expo, tagged Transforming the Gaming Sector with Artificial Intelligence and FinTech, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says his administration is actively working on policies and initiatives that will position Lagos as the leading hub for digital gaming, FinTech solutions, and AI-driven creative enterprises in Africa.
The gaming industry has evolved beyond a traditional entertainment. Today, it's a key driver of creative economy. It's a strong generating employer of labor. It's fostering digital innovation and it's creating new revenue streams. Similarly, the FinTech has revolutionized financial transactions. It has helped to expand access to digital payment and financial inclusion across the continent.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, while highlighting the transformative power of AI, says the Expo provides a platform for stakeholders, regulators, and investors to brainstorm on how AI can drive efficiency, security, and inclusivity across gaming, FinTech, and entertainment.
This is more than just an expo. It's a launchpad for ideas. It's a launchpad for partnership, and we see it as a launchpad for innovation. We believe it will define the next phase of Africa's digital transformation.
More than 500 delegates from across the globe are currently participating in the 2025 Africa Gaming Expo. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakboya, NTA News.
Nigeria is also collaborating with Korea to drive digital economy. Details of that in a moment.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, 1 person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, 1 person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary healthcare center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Nigeria is still creating opportunities for the youths to be actively involved in the digital economic drive of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy Bosun Tijani disclosed this at the Nigeria Courier Information Access Systems Center here in Abuja, and Ayodeji Makinde reports on that for the NTA.
Another bridge from south of the Sahara to Far East. Here is the Digital Bridge Institute that has drawn government officials for the inauguration of the Nigeria Courier Information Access Center. It is the first center to be equipped and will specialize in AI training, adoption of physical and virtual simulation methods, with at least 15,000 people expected to be trained before the end of the year. Digital Bridge Institute and Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy call for focus and exploration of federal government policies.
You shouldn't listen to naysayers. Find centers like this where you can benefit, centers like this where you can gain access to infrastructure, to technology, to knowledge that can help you actually build a career that is useful for yourself.
These vital and basic skills that they will acquire from this center will form the foundation for hopefully prosperity in the area of AI for Nigeria.
They have a curriculum for young people to use and then see how that solves specific or industry-based questions.
We think Nigeria has shown a very, strong commitment to AI development.
The facilities provided 100% by the Korean government is a gateway to opening of new frontiers in Nigeria's digital economy. In Abuja, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
The ongoing coalition against the spread of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria is becoming stronger with the drafting of the Northwest Geopolitical Zone into Free to Shine Triple Elimination Campaign. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu flagged off the campaign in Kaduna with a call on stakeholders to work towards securing the future of the country by changing its current HIV/AIDS narrative. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
One geopolitical zone at a time. That is the unfolding narrative of the Free to Shine Triple Elimination Campaign as it moves from its maiden launch in north-central Nigeria to the northwest, bringing more stakeholders on board the fight against HIV/AIDS, hepatitis and syphilis. As the highlight of her two-day working visit to Kaduna State, the campaign launch, the First Lady notes, holds a lot of significance for the future of the country.
According to the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare,
In 2024, there were over 100,000 children and nearly 2 million adults living with HIV/AIDS. The Free to Shine campaign seeks to significantly reduce new HIV infections among women of reproductive age, prevent mother-to-child transmission, which is the vertical transmission, and ensure that every child born with HIV receives the necessary treatment and support to thrive.
Free, the test is everything that concerning us is free.
Despite recording some positives, as shown by the testimony of these survivors, Nigeria, the First Lady says, is at a pivotal stage in her fight against HIV/AIDS, seeking to join other countries in Africa who have achieved the UN AIDS 95-95-95 target by 2030.
We must deepen engagement with traditional and faith-based institutions to address cultural and religious influences on HIV prevention behaviors, especially those engaging in birth services, by expanding access to HIV testing services. I believe with the concerted efforts of all our stakeholders here present, especially our state first ladies, who will help disseminate this message in their various states, this deadline can be attained by the grace of God.
And I can assure you that as governors, we will do everything humanly possible to support this initiative, because it's about saving lives.
And we're going to ensure that drugs, test kits, and the care that you need is made available so that we can ensure that AIDS is eliminated as a public health threat by 2030.
The Free to Shine campaign is one of the advocacy initiatives of the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, OAFLAD, and other development partners.
What is the call to action? Every mother's life is precious, and every child has the right to a future free from AIDS.
One of the things that the First Lady have the power is to fight stigma and discrimination.
The South-South geopolitical zone is next in line for the launch of the campaign. From Kaduna, Adeniyi Taiwo, NTA News.
And on polio, the Rotary International is investing $150 million annually on its polio intervention efforts and with about $3 billion already expended to eradicate the virus in some countries since the inception of the program. Michael McGovern, Chairman, International Polio Plus Committee, is leading a team on an advocacy and enlightenment on the Foundation's activities to Karu local government areas in Nasarawa State with a symbolic polio immunization of the children. Olusegun Adiago reports.
Polio mainly affects children under age 5, and Nigerian government with partners are deploying resources to end the circulating variants of polio virus type 2 reported in parts of the country and sustaining national priorities agenda of the country's wide polio-free status. Michael McGovern and his team of the International Polio Plus Committee are in Nigeria to complement this cause.
Together we end polio.
These visits to selected primary health care facilities in Karu, local government area of Nasarawa State, and meeting with key players driving the area's health system to strategize around social mobilization activities and getting updates on post-polio transition.
Because there's a meeting of the Global Oversight Board for Polio, and they're meeting with the government to see how the program is going and how we can help. Specifically today, I'm meeting with Rotarians and I'm seeing what goes on out in the community. And it is so refreshing to see these mothers and a few fathers, but mostly mothers, bringing their kids out to get polio drops.
Is that people care, and we are doing the best we can to make sure that we get rid of this. It's a promise that Rotary International and its partners made to the children of the world that will end polio, and it's going to happen.
I encourage every Nigerian community to prioritize immunizing children against polio and other vaccine-preventable diseases.
I really want to say thanks to all the team for the special support that they have for Karu local government, and truly with their help, we have less polio victims in Karu.
getting vaccinated comes with pain. These children have had shots of combined antigens administered on them, but their caregivers are calm, knowing the benefits that comes with the jab.
It has helped my baby a lot. He keeps him healthy. Thank you. May God bless you for making it possible for us to be collecting it for free.
We are committed to end the polio out of the country very well. In our commitment is we use disease surveillance officers, where there are people that goes around and find out cases at the community level.
The Rotary International is counting gains of more than 20 million children in countries around the world who have not become disabled due to polio immunization interventions. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
And Senate is calling for improved access to eye care services for Nigerians as well, and that's to enable early detection and treatment. To this end, Senate is proposing the establishment of more federal eye centers in order to meet the need of the 80% of Nigerians' rural population. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
It was the second and last public hearing on the 4 tax reform bills at the Senate. The zeal to engage the Parliament on these bills continued as agencies of government and the private sector reel out their observations. The Nigerian Customs Service pointed out some conflicting provisions in the proposed law that would interfere with the Nigerian Customs Act, while the Academic Staff Union of Universities and others pointed out potential fallout of scrapping TED fund by 2030 as provided in the tax bill.
Customs should be allowed to retain its mandate under the provisions of the NCS Act 2023. The only organization funding that research today in the Nigerian system is the TED fund.
And the acknowledgement of the importance of modernization of the tax system to enhance fiscal and stability and align with global best practices.
Look at all this argument as to whether derivation will be 60%, 20%. This should not be in the law. We already have in our constitution revenue mobilization, allocation, and fiscal commission. That is their statutory duty.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service and Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms were on ground to clear gray areas.
Nobody will come from anywhere to come and develop Nigeria. We need to have economy policy that encourage local development.
For far too long, our tax system has been riddled with inefficiencies, ambiguity, inequity, and complexity that have constrained economic growth.
Number of stakeholders that made themselves physically present here are 51. Your insights, perspectives, and recommendations have enriched our discussions and will go a long way in shaping tax policies and a fair, efficient, and growth-driven legislation.
As the hearing comes to an end, the committee announced its next step, a retreat for deeper consultations where the various inputs will be fine-tuned and reconciled before presentation at plenary. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And that was Ignatius Nkwo's report on Senate receiving recommendations from members of the public on the floor on tax reform bills at the second day of public hearing from the legislators, reaffirming their position that the engagement is not just a legislative formality, but a national dialogue where every voice counts. We'll bring you Lami Ali's reports in our subsequent bulletin. Now, the House of Representatives has pledged support for legislations that will enhance the capacity of security agencies to protect lives and property of citizens. This was at the public hearing of a bill for an act to establish Nigerian Security and Intelligence Trust Fund. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ipe reports on these and other parliamentary engagements.
Security experts here agree that Nigeria's security and intelligence agencies are underfunded in the face of growing criminality. The bill seeking establishment of Nigeria's Security and Intelligence Trust Fund is described as timely to address budget shortfalls and funding gaps that hinder the capacities of security agencies to deliver on their mandate.
The bill
is actually to provide alternative funding for the intelligence agency outside the budgetary allocation, to reduce the burden and dependence on budget allocation.
And enhance capacity for intelligence gathering, training, equipment, with overall aim of nipping security challenges in the bud.
At another public hearing on bills to establish 10 federal colleges of education, there is consensus that Nigeria's growing population places a demand for more teacher training institutions.
The proposed Federal College of Education Technical Paskari Katsina State will address the seeming imbalance in the spread of the such colleges in the Northwest Geopolitical Zone.
And when we establish schools, these schools must reflect the new thinking, the new worldview.
Meanwhile, the Southeast Caucus in the House of Representatives has appealed to the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to consider reopening the Onitsha Bridgehead Market in Anambra State.
The wholesome and indefinite sealing of a market that caters for over 90% of the medication needs of the Southeast and South-South regions may not be the best approach. More so when it is considered that many of the other traders in the same market are genuine businessmen and women.
The Onitsha Bridgehead Market was sealed by NAFDAC as part of a nationwide raid on fake and substandard medicines in the country. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And in other news, Minister of Steel Development Shaibu Abubakar Audu is expressing confidence that the Metalurgical Industry Bill 2023 will reposition Nigerian steel sector for sustainable industrialization and economic growth. This was during a stakeholders engagement to fine-tune aspects of the bill ahead of public hearing at the National Assembly. Ekene Ndulue reports.
Creation of the Federal Ministry of Steel Development following its separation from the former Ministry of Mines and Steel Development has necessitated a fresh review of the Metallurgical Industry Bill. Key players have gathered in this hall to review the bill, identify gaps and propose necessary amendments ahead of the public hearing.
What we're talking about here is having a law which will be able to address many of these key issues, and they're very potent issues that unless they are addressed, our country cannot grow.
So with the emergence of the Metallurgical Industry Bill, we are very optimistic that the industry will be more stable, will be more sustainable, and then there will be quality control within the industry.
Minister of Steel Development says the bill will address long-standing issues in the metallurgical industry, ensuring it becomes a key contributor to Nigeria's economic diversification efforts.
For many, many decades now, the steel sector has been operating without any regulation. The president, like I mentioned during my speech, is very determined to grow the Nigerian economy to $1 trillion, of which the steel and metal sector will play a very critical role in helping us to achieve those objectives.
As stakeholders rise from the meeting, the consensus was clear. A well-implemented metallurgical industry bill could boost Nigeria's industrial capacity, create jobs, and drive economic growth. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulue, NTA News.
In Kogi State, the government is calling on citizens to actively protect public infrastructure in their communities to sustain the state's rapid development. Speaking on Tuesday in Lokoja, the State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fanwu, emphasized that the real owners of public infrastructure are the people, and it is incumbent upon citizens to protect them. He highlighted the significant progress achieved over the past year under the leadership of Governor Ahmed Osman Ododo, saying the administration is building on the achievements of previous governments and opening up new channels of development. He noted that from roadways and educational institutions to commercial facilities and water supply networks, Kogi State is witnessing a transformation. And he added that water infrastructure has improved tremendously, especially in major cities, thanks to the tireless efforts of the State Ministry of Water Resources. However, while the government is committed to serving the people, real progress occurs when citizens take ownership and protect the infrastructure in their areas. This has not only preserved the gains but also enabled channeling of resources into other critical areas. And the Commissioner also points out that the administration's commitment to rural development through extensive projects led by the Kogi State Community and Social Development Agency is also ongoing. And he further urged citizens to report any instances of vandalism through the Ministry of Information and Communications, which will escalate such cases to the Office of the State Security Advisor. There's need for Nigeria to make sure the Urban and Regional Planning Decree of 1992 is domesticated in all states to ensure proper town planning in the country. The President Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, FCT chapter, Queen Phillips emphasized this as a major step of proper development of the country as she calls for full implementation of the law to prevent building collapse and demolition across the country.
It is about having the implementation to the latter. It's about giving it sufficient, attention. It's about giving it enough budget. They are not just drawings. They are plans that will bring economic growth to the nation. And we believe and trust that when the government listens to us and they understand better why we need the total implementation of this URP law, they will go along with us and we will see a lot of difference in the country.
The electoral executive meeting of the governing All Progressives Congress, APC, is gradually gathering momentum ahead of the scheduled time of noon of Wednesday, 26 February 2025 for its commencement. In the meantime, former and serving governors, former and present principal officers of the National Assembly, members of the National and State Working Committees and other chieftains have arrived at Buhari House, National Secretariat of the party. And security arrangements have been top-notch while only eligible members of the meeting are allowed access after thorough screening from the main entrance of the venue. The President, Vice President and President of the Senate are being awaited, which will immediately signal commencement of the meeting today. Electoral integrity in West Africa can only be achieved by deepening democratic values. This is the position of former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan at the Reflection Conference on Democratic Election in West Africa held in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
This conference aims to bring together critical electoral stakeholders across West Africa to reflect on key lessons from recent elections and explore interventions that can drive electoral reforms in the sub-region.
And more importantly, we also want to be forward-looking and looking at what these implications or what these elections mean for governance.
Governance must be accountable and electoral processes must be transparent and credible.
Themed, strengthening democratic processes in West Africa, lessons from the 2024 elections and prospects for future elections. Discussions provide a comprehensive analysis of the 2023 and 2024 elections, shedding light on key challenges and opportunities for improvement. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, who chairs the West African Elders Forum, and former INEC Chairman Professor Tahiru Chega, believed that much has been achieved, but yet with more work to be done, especially in the face of recent democratization crises in some West African countries.
This development therefore underscored the place of the human element in deepening the roots of democracy. It shows that the development of technology and the deployment of technology, no matter how elaborate or sophisticated, may not deliver the desired outcomes without the proven will of the authorities and the citizens to do the right thing.
Citizens, credible civil society organizations, and democratically inclined political actors, what I call drivers of change, should continue to mobilize effectively for credible and sustainable electoral democratic processes in our country or in our sub-region.
Participants from electoral commissions, civil society organizations, and media outlets across West Africa are attending the conference. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
That's the news at 10. News updates will be up shortly. I'm Comfort and Modu. Many thanks for watching.